The raw impact of infidelity can utterly dismantle your sense of self. Hello, everyone, and welcome back for another truly astonishing tale from our community. When a partner betrays you, the emotional wreckage is profound. Yet, that pain might seem minor compared to the severe blow your confidence receives. Nothing hurts your personal assurance quite like marital disloyalty. Even when logic tells you it isn't your fault, societal pressures often make you internalize blame. Here, we aim to guide individuals away from the destructive spiral that erodes self-worth. If you already know the initial details, use the timestamps to skip ahead to the first update. The original poster, a 44-year-old man, and his soon-to-be ex-wife, 39, were married for 11 years with no children. They were a somewhat overweight couple until 2 years prior. A blood test revealed he was susceptible to diabetes, gout, and high blood pressure. This revelation deeply frightened him, prompting both of them to gradually adopt a much healthier way of life. He shed weight, going from 117 to 85 kilograms, while his wife, whom we'll call Jane, reduced her weight from 83 to 65 kilograms. They felt wonderful, and thankfully, he avoided developing those illnesses. They frequented a gym almost every day in the afternoon. An individual, let's call him Baldy, worked there as a trainer. As Jane became more toned, the poster noticed many men watching her. He felt immense pride in her appearance. She had a full bust and striking legs. Naturally, Baldy was no exception. The poster observed Baldy checking out women's backsides on multiple occasions. Baldy also enjoyed displaying his muscular physique. When Jane and the poster were regular gym attendees, he noticed she seemed to relish the attention from other men. Once, while they were on elliptical machines, a cable apparatus stood directly in front of them. Baldy removed his shirt and began performing crossovers. The poster glanced at Jane, conveying a "can you believe this guy?" expression, but she was fixated on Baldy, moistening her lips. The poster caught Baldy's eye and swore he saw a smirk. He felt crushed. Despite his own fitness journey, he wasn't as lean or muscular as Baldy. On their drive home, he mentioned Baldy's showboating, but Jane claimed, "Really? I didn't notice." He reminded her she'd been staring, to which she replied, "I don't recall. I must have been lost in thought." He dismissed it and continued driving, but from that point on, he observed them conversing more often at the gym. Several weeks later, Jane was performing squats on a Smith machine. Suddenly, Baldy stepped in to assist her. "How considerate," the poster thought sarcastically, as Baldy placed his hands around her waist. Anger surged within him. After her first set, he approached and told Baldy in no uncertain terms, "I'll take it from here." Baldy simply smiled, replied, "No problem, buddy." He called everyone buddy, and walked away. Jane knew the poster well, and upon hearing his sharp tone, she exclaimed, "Oh my God, Op!" He told her, "We'll discuss this at home." A major argument erupted at their residence. She accused him of being childish and overly possessive. He countered that he saw Baldy trying to get close to her, but she insisted she knew that and would never be unfaithful. He then asked why she allowed Baldy to touch her, and she responded that she didn't want to seem impolite. After about an hour of heated discussion, they agreed to switch gyms. They found a new facility, but Jane remained resentful toward him in the subsequent months, frequently arguing that he didn't trust her. 3 months after their gym change, an excellent career opportunity arose for the poster. They talked it over that afternoon, and he accepted. This meant they had to attend the gym at different times. He went in the mornings, and Jane in the afternoons. This is where everything began to unravel. Jane's bitterness intensified, and they barely spoke. He sent her messages about his day, expressing how much he missed her, and even shared memes, but she rarely replied, or simply sent yes, okay, or same here. Deeply worried, he proposed couples therapy. She retorted that he was the one who needed help because of his trust issues. He agreed, so desperate to salvage their marriage that he even considered it all his fault. Thus, in the following year, 2022, he started therapy, but Jane's conduct remained unchanged. They were no longer intimate. She was perpetually not in the mood. He discreetly checked her phone, but found nothing unusual. He searched her car for a secret device. Again, nothing. He re-examined her phone's map history, which only showed house, work, house, gym, house. Whenever he tried to talk, she'd say she was just going through a 40 seconds phase, and it would pass. He never found any proof of infidelity, so he continued to work and worry. They resided in a condominium complex. The cheerful security guard, Mr. P, greeted the poster one day. They chatted often. Mr. P touched his shoulder, mentioning he had moved a heavy sofa the previous day and was experiencing some discomfort. The poster expressed sympathy, and then Mr. P dropped a bombshell. "Perhaps you could arrange a session with your masseuse?" the poster asked. "Who, Mr. P replied. "The man who visited yesterday to give Mrs. Jane a massage." It took a moment for the poster to process this. He asked, "Do you have a recording of him?" Mr. P seemed to notice his pallor and quickly showed him. It was Baldy, of course. He had apparently visited several times to massage his wife. The poster took the day off and began investigating. He borrowed a co-worker's car, and that afternoon, he trailed Jane. She parked at the mall where the gym was located, and there was Baldy, waiting for her. They giggled and acted like a couple, exchanging kisses and hugs. The poster felt close to tears. They walked a few blocks into a residential area. He tried to follow, phone ready to record, but a guard stopped him, asking, "Can I help you?" He simply said, "What a lovely couple. Do you know them?" The guard thought they were newlyweds but couldn't provide any more information. He called Jane, but she didn't answer. He returned to her car at the mall, wondering why that location didn't appear on her map history. He dialed again and heard her phone ringing inside her vehicle. That's also when he discovered Jane hadn't attended the gym in 8 months. He hadn't known. The previous night was the last time he shared a bed with Jane. He returned the car and went home, calling his parents. Fortunately, his dad answered, and he recounted everything, crying. His father comforted him and advised him to gather proof. Clearly, his marriage was over, and he needed all the evidence he could collect. His father would contact a friend who was an excellent divorce attorney. Jane called when she saw his 2 missed calls. He simply told her he was already home, and she said, "I'm on my way from the gym." Yes, he could imagine. When she saw him, she asked, "What happened? Why were you crying?" He didn't know how, but he maintained his composure. He smiled and told her, "I caught the flu. That's why I left work early. Don't come near me. It might be contagious. I'll get tested tomorrow. I'll sleep in the spare room." She agreed. He cried silently and didn't sleep at all. Near midnight, he heard her soft laughter. He assumed she was messaging Baldy, but he found no direct evidence of her contacting another man. Then it struck him. Why hadn't he considered it sooner? He bet the affair partner was disguised as one of her female co-workers. In the morning, while Jane was showering, he took her phone, created a session on his laptop, and then returned her phone to its original spot. They both knew each other's phone passcodes. The session worked as long as the phone was near his laptop or on the same Wi-Fi network. Then he saw it, a contact under a female name, with a dumbbell as the profile picture. He accessed it, and most of the conversations were gone. He guessed they used work-related phrases as a secret code in case he snooped. "Can you deliver the papers to my desk?" He knew she didn't have a desk at work. "Going to the meeting. Where are you?" On top of them. "Boss is in his office. He's clueless." Pretty clever, he thought. He inferred he was the boss because he knew her actual supervisor was a woman. Jane emerged from the shower and observed him. "You look worse. Did you stay with your parents?" He denied, thinking of collecting evidence. After Jane left, he contacted his father, who provided the lawyer's name and number. He called the attorney and explained everything. The lawyer informed him that the screenshots he took from his laptop were useless. They didn't constitute actual evidence since it wasn't the affair partner's real name, and she had been clever enough to leave seemingly innocent fragments of conversation. He could photograph them at the mall, but she could argue they were just friends. Furthermore, he couldn't enter the residential area without permission, as it could land him in more trouble. At work, he felt like a zombie, constantly brainstorming how to secure concrete proof. He considered installing hidden cameras in his home, but Baldy rarely visited, and Jane might discover them unless he was absent. He messaged Jane, stating he was positive he had the bug and would stay with his parents, needing assistance. She liked the idea, saying she would miss him, but would call every day. After hanging up, he called his father and brother. When he arrived home, she had already packed his suitcase. She seemed eager to be rid of him. He told her he would take his laptop, then quickly checked her messages. "Boss will be out of their office when I come to my desk." She sent this message almost immediately after he told her he was positive for the bug. Good, she took the bait. They didn't have dinner, no kisses, no hugs. He noticed her checking her watch twice from the doorway. He told her, "I'll miss you." He expected her to close the door in his face, but she walked him to his car, and he drove away. His father and brother were waiting outside the building for Baldy to appear, but he didn't show up after half an hour. He pondered why she had walked him to his car. Of course, because Baldy was already inside the building, waiting perhaps even in her car. It would have been very suspicious for her massages to arrive at that hour. He hurried back to his apartment and entered silently. He heard music emanating from the bedroom, and then moaning. Next to the door, a sofa held both his and her clothes. He started recording on his phone, then opened the bedroom door. There she was, his wife, the love of his life for 11 years, on all fours, with Baldy behind her. He captured several good seconds of both their faces when they saw him. Jane shrieked and covered herself with the blanket. Baldy immediately went into an alpha male stance, walking naked toward him. The poster filmed Baldy, exposing himself. Baldy aggressively yelled, "Why don't you go for a stroll, buddy?" The poster struck Baldy's throat with an open hand, a move he'd seen in the Mel Gibson movie Ransom. The next second, Baldy was coughing and gasping, kneeling on the floor. The poster screamed, "Get out of my house!" and kicked him out. He threw Baldy's clothes at him. When his father, brother, and Mr. P arrived at his house, he told them, "I'll take it from here," and closed the door. Jane was still in bed, covered, trembling. He told her, "I have never hurt you, nor will I. Get dressed. I'll wait for you in the living room." While he waited, he sent the video to his lawyer, who replied, "I'm sorry for you, but jackpot." A few minutes later, Jane appeared. She couldn't meet his gaze. He began recording their conversation. He asked why she hadn't answered. "Was I such an awful husband to you?" She started crying but didn't respond. "Do you love him?" She shook her head but offered no words. He stood up and struck the table. "Say something, damn it." Her eyes widened, and she started trembling again, like a frightened puppy. He had never yelled at her before. He sat down and spoke calmly. "My lawyer will contact you for the divorce. Get a lawyer." She finally spoke. "We can fix this." "Fix what?" "Our marriage was over the moment Baldy entered the picture, and you chose him over me. It was a mistake." "No, it wasn't. It was a choice you made, and this is the consequence." "What did you think would happen when I found out?" Silence again. "Go to your sisters and tell her the truth, or I will show her the video." She went to the bedroom and began packing. He followed and watched. For 2 days, he had been trying to convince himself his wife was truly gone, that the person he shared his home with was not his wife. But seeing her neatly place her clothes into the suitcase with her graceful movements, and those small things he loved about her, hit him hard. He retreated to the spare room and began to cry uncontrollably. He heard the main door close. She had picked up her clothes from the sofa and even made the bed where he had caught them. He collapsed to the floor. Much later, he called his father. His dad told him Baldy wanted to press charges, but Mr. P confirmed Baldy hadn't signed in, making him a trespasser. The condo association could sue him. Baldy dropped the idea and left. His nosy brother had pressed his ear to the door, and his dad pulled him by the other ear to the car. The poster was exhausted. He hadn't slept well in days, and nearly passed out in the spare room. The next morning, his phone was flooded with Jane's messages, apologizing and pleading for a second chance. He simply blocked her. His sister-in-law called. Apparently Jane hadn't told her what truly happened, only that they were fighting. He supposed it was fortunate his father-in-law was no longer alive to witness Jane's actions. She was the youngest and his favorite. His mother-in-law suffered from senile dementia. All this had occurred a week prior. Next week, Jane would be served with divorce papers. He felt the community was absolutely right. She was no longer his wife, or at least, not the woman he married. He believed that when people undergo significant life changes, like losing weight, it can reinvent them. Sometimes, this opens new perceived opportunities. For some reason, she equated experiencing life to experiencing other men, despite having a perfectly good marriage with someone who loved her unconditionally, regardless of her appearance. Instead of seeking to satisfy this newfound ego with unsuitable men, she should have viewed this as a chance to engage in activities together that they might not have pursued before, or things her previous weight would have prevented. This could even include being adventurous in the bedroom with her increased self-confidence. There were countless ways to explore life and embrace her new self, and cheating was not among them. She made a terrible mistake. Update 1. Hello everyone. I'm back with a compelling new development. You'll find this as satisfying as I do. Before diving into the update, I want to clarify a few points. First, I want to express my gratitude to everyone who reached out, offered guidance, congratulated me, or simply showed they cared. I'd read in other posts that the support from online communities is incredible, but this is my first personal experience of such kindness from strangers. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. Second, as you might have inferred, English isn't my primary language, so I made some grammatical errors and confused prepositions. My apologies for that. Also, I mistakenly said Jane was doing sit-ups. She was doing squats. Third, to those who doubt the authenticity of my story, you're free to believe what you wish. My only hope is that my account might assist someone in the future, just as others have helped me. Fourth, regarding how I struck the affair partner, it wasn't a fancy martial arts move. I simply chopped him in the throat. Frankly, I was lucky to react before Baldy did. I won't deny, seeing him on the floor, coughing, felt incredibly satisfying. Fifth, some readers discovered a post I made on an Ask Reddit forum a month before D-Day. It was never published because I didn't grasp the community guidelines, and today it holds no importance. To summarize quickly, Jane and I had been attempting to become parents for 10 years. In the 8th year, we saved sufficient funds for 3 attempts at the most expensive and successful fertility clinic in my country. All 3 failed. Jane began her affair during the 3rd attempt. That's the clinic where my blood was tested, and combined with my family's medical history, it revealed my predispositions to diabetes, gout, hypertension, and strokes. I should actually thank them. Someone suggested Jane intentionally aborted during the 3rd attempt because it might have been the affair partner's child. Well, that's impossible because it's nearly impossible for her to conceive naturally. The embryos were fertilized in vitro and then directly implanted into her uterus. I tried to repost my question, but she appeared and told me, I don't want to have children anymore, so I dropped it. I'm certain Baldy had nothing to do with her choice. This detail becomes relevant later. Let's continue with the update. It had been 12 days since D-Day. What had I been doing? On D-Day +1, a Friday, I had a pleasant conversation with Mr. P. He admitted he had faked his shoulder pain. He merely wanted to caution me about Baldy. He also informed me that a very inquisitive neighbor had witnessed me kicking Baldy out of my apartment unclothed. Surely, he said, within a week, the entire condo will be aware of my situation. My brother came to assist me in changing the door lock. After he departed, I felt utterly alone and wept profusely. I contacted my workplace to request the day off. That night I spoke with my lawyer. He mentioned he was drafting the divorce documents. He couldn't begin until he had the proof, so my divorce would be by mutual consent, which is a smoother process than an uncontested divorce, which is lengthier and quite unpleasant. He also advised me not to share the video. Jane would be served in 2 weeks. My sister-in-law called, but I told her to inquire with Jane about the reason for our divorce. D-Day +2, a Saturday. My sister-in-law visited, and I showed her the video. I drove her home and saw Jane's car. When I returned home, I felt utterly crushed and cried even more. D-Day +3, a Sunday. I visited my parents. My mother wept with me. She genuinely adored Jane. My father had a conversation with me about my finances, assets, and other matters. On my way back home, Mr. P informed me that Jane and Baldy had appeared. I presumed they intended to make their relationship public now that the truth was out. Curiously, however, they arrived at different times. Jane came in the morning. She parked her car and, seeing mine was absent, attempted to enter my house, but her key no longer worked. She then asked Mr. P if he knew where I had gone. He claimed ignorance and handed her something. Mr. O.P. gave me this for you, he said, giving her my attorney's business card. She took it and departed. Baldy arrived in the afternoon and first asked to see Jane. Mr. P told him, Mrs. Jane, emphasizing Mrs., no longer resided there. Baldy then requested to see me, and Mr. P informed him, Mr. O.P. is away. No idea when he'll return. Baldy left. I guess they weren't in contact yet. I wanted to ask about Jane. Was she sad? Did she look well? Did she inquire about my welfare? But then I recalled D-Day and simply thanked Mr. P, bidding him good night. When I arrived home, I cried extensively once more. D-Day +4, a Monday. I didn't want to, But something I'd learned from all of you champions was the importance of hitting the gym hard. So I sought a new gym close to my workplace and had a productive session. I felt quite good afterward. Then I returned to work. At home, I didn't cry this time and began removing all of Jane's photographs. D-Day +5, a Tuesday. I had a meeting with my lawyer to review my assets. Fortunately, my father had Jane sign a prenuptial agreement, so she couldn't claim anything I owned before our marriage, primarily my house. All remaining possessions would be divided equally, and I could seek compensation for her infidelity. As compensation, I intended to forgo alimony. I could fight for all the shared items, but everything reminded me of her, and I desired a fresh start. As I left home, I overheard whispers. I turned my head and saw two neighbors who immediately pretended not to notice me. They walked past me and greeted me. I knew this would happen. After that, I went to the gym and then to work. This routine repeated throughout the week, so I'll omit D-Day +6, Wednesday. Nothing noteworthy occurred. I primarily used Facebook and other social media. I ignored all direct messages asking me to contact Jane. I closed social media and opened Reddit, enjoying my time reading about all of you champions who had overcome experiences similar to mine. I felt better. So, I decided to share my own experience. D-Day +7, a Thursday. I began writing. I posted my story before heading to the gym. While I was at work, I was astonished by how many people were reacting to my account. I responded to some comments. D-Day +8, a Friday. I spent the entire morning reading and responding to my comments. It felt good to be appreciated. Two comments particularly resonated with me, ideas I hadn't considered. One suggested reporting the affair partner to my old gym, and the other that my home felt tainted and I needed a fresh start. So before going to the gym, I looked for real estate agents to sell or lease my house. I no longer felt comfortable there. I hadn't entered my bedroom since D-Day, sleeping instead in the spare room. I didn't want to continue living this way. D-Day +9, a Saturday. Since Jane might visit and bother me, I chose to spend the day away from home. She did come. Then she visited my parents and brother. They simply texted me, "Jane came." I replied, "Thank you. I don't want to talk about her yet." D-Day +10, a Sunday. I spent the day with my parents. We visited a town 2 hours from the city and had a wonderful time. I don't know if Jane visited. My father advised me not to sell my house but to rent it. I agreed and returned home. When I arrived, Mr. P told me Baldy had visited that afternoon, alone again. He asked for me, but Mr. P told him I was away. He left without a word. D-Day +11, a Monday. Yesterday morning, Monday, I went to my old gym. I wasn't sure if I'd encounter Baldy. He worked in the afternoons, but since he was typically with my wife then, I thought he might have changed his shift. He was nowhere to be found. I asked to speak with Frank, the gym owner. While waiting for him, I met an elderly janitor I used to chat with. He told me to say hello to Miss Jane. I guess my new normal involves telling everyone we've separated. I smiled at him. Frank finally received me. I inquired about Baldy. He told me Monday was Baldy's day off. Baldy had requested more hours and now worked from Tuesday to Sunday mornings. Then I explained the reason for my visit. Frank listened intently until I finished, and then I showed him the video. He remained silent, deep in thought. He finally said, "You're not going to like this." I just thought, what now? Frank called the receptionist to bring Harry, another coach, and Baldy's friend. Harry had a large beard. Frank asked him to tell me about Baldy's girlfriend. Fasten your seatbelts, I thought. This is going to be good. According to Harry, Baldy was completely smitten with Jane, and Frank confirmed it. He told me Baldy had received many complaints, especially from female members. But for the past few months, he had changed. There were no complaints, and he was very professional with all members. Then Harry told me something that made my jaw drop. Baldy was trying to marry Jane by baby-trapping her. I was processing this information when I felt something begin in my chest. It climbed up my throat and finally erupted from my mouth. I laughed. I swear I was laughing like the Joker, wildly, even shedding a few tears. Frank and Harry looked utterly bewildered. I thought, "Oh, sweet karma, thank you." After I calmed down, but with a wide grin on my face, Harry asked what was happening. Frank explained, "This is Baldy's girlfriend's husband." Harry's face showed shock. "Oh man, this is bad. This is really messed up." Harry left. Next, we discussed dismissing Baldy. Frank stated he had to report the situation to the Coaches Association, not its real name, and that he would certainly have to fire him because Jane was a member of Frank's gym, which could have legal repercussions for his coaching licenses. I needed to create a legal document explaining Baldy as the reason for my divorce, providing the key number of my divorce case and the video. My attorney would provide the video to the Coaches Association's attorney. I couldn't share it myself. Baldy would lose his license from that association, but he could apply for another license with a different association, though it would take months. I asked if Baldy could appeal. Frank said he might, but it would be a waste of effort. The association did not tolerate such behavior. Also, Baldy didn't have the funds to hire someone to represent him. That reminded me of the residential area where he entered with Jane. I thought Baldy was wealthy. Frank leaned his face closer to mine. What residential area? I showed him on the Maps app. You followed them to this place? I had. On D-Day -1. Frank grew angry. That's where my late father's house is. Frank's father had passed away, and he had inherited the house. All obsolete or repair-needed equipment went to that house. He had lent Baldy the key to store some items occasionally, but Baldy did not have permission to reside there. He surely had a copy of the key and might be living there illegally. Frank was going to investigate this further. It would be easy since there were many cameras in that location. I was leaving the gym when I heard, "Mr. OP! Mr. OP, wait!" It was Harry. He told me he was sorry about what was happening. Baldy had never told him who his girlfriend was. He only said he met her at the XXX mall. I thanked him and took a step toward the exit. Harry rushed. "Can you tell me what happened?" I told him pretty much what you've heard. He was sleeping with my wife, and now I'm divorcing her. Another step. What will happen to Baldy? That depends on Frank and the Coaches Association. I tried to take another step, but Harry asked, "How are you handling it?" Now this was odd. I stared at Harry and remembered Baldy had visited my house twice. I said, "You called Baldy, and he's on his way here, right? You're just buying time, aren't you?" He made a guilty face. "Please, Mr. OP, talk to him. He's really desperate. He was crying yesterday. His girl, your wife isn't returning his calls." I asked, "Tell me, why should I care if he's rotting in hell?" Harry replied, "I'll be here with you so you don't need to be scared." I laughed. "Scared of that weakling? He didn't tell you I kicked him out of my house naked, did he?" Harry didn't believe me. "Fine, let's see what he wants." I noticed there were cameras where we were talking and sat in front of a reception table. I didn't think Baldy was foolish enough to attack me, but who knew? Besides, I was genuinely curious about his intentions. He came running 10 minutes later and saw me waiting. He extended his hand. I crossed my arms, leaving his hand hanging. "What the hell do you want?" I looked angrily directly into his eyes. He sat in front of me. "Listen, buddy, stop right there. We are not buddies. Mr. S., the janitor, is my buddy. You are not." He seemed apologetic. "Okay, my mistake. I want to say I'm sorry for everything. I never wanted to hurt you, and I really care about Jane." "Well, you just told 3 lies to my face. You're not sorry. You absolutely intended to destroy my life, and you only care about yourself." He changed from apologetic to annoyed. "Okay, whatever, man. Just tell me where Jane is. Last time I saw her was when I kicked her cheating backside out of my house after I kicked you out naked." I knew Harry was listening. Baldy's face turned red. "That was a cheap shot. I should sue you. As far as I know, you entered my home illegally, and perhaps you were assaulting my wife. I have videos of you leaving, but you didn't sign in." He changed again. Okay, I'm sorry. Tell me what you want from me, please. Tell Jane I need to speak to her." At that moment, Frank rushed in. I guessed he saw through the cameras that Baldy had appeared. "Everything okay here?" "Everything is fine, Frank. I was just telling this man what I want." I stood up and spoke close to Baldy's face. "What I want is what is coming for you, what you deserve, what the law has prepared for you. I want to crush your dreams, just like you did with mine. You want kids? Guess what? You won't. And you will never have them." Baldy said, "What's that supposed to mean?" But Frank asked him to come to his office. Harry looked impressed. He grabbed Baldy's arm and pulled him. "Dude, you're in deep trouble." I finally left. D-Day +12, a Tuesday. I felt ready to face Jane now. I was still grinning as I typed this. So, how have you been? Radar 1031 from the community suggests, stay strong, man, and be prepared for the biggest bunch of excuses to get thrown at you over the next few weeks. She's so sorry. She only loves you. She doesn't know what she was thinking, all the usual nonsense. This is so much worse than the typical affair, and that she found it amusing to use secret code words that made you look like some loser. She couldn't wait to get Baldy into your house. She's despicable, and the only solution here is scorched earth, my friend. Bury them both. I can't think of more deserving people. The poster replies, of course, my friend. Thanks to all the people who have endured all this garbage and shared their experiences, I know what is coming. I am mentally preparing for the battle. Gerbil in my butthole says, OP, don't stop exercising, keep eating right, get rid of the bed, and put the condo up for sale. I would find a new place. That one is contaminated. Sounds like you have a support system, and just get back into some hobbies to keep you busy, along with your support group and your work. The poster adds, just another thought. You should take a week or two vacation with some friends and go somewhere with plenty of women. Enjoy your time away. Don't post until the divorce is finalized. Edit. Saw you were trying for children. Take half the money you saved and use it for this vacation. Make sure the money is set aside and don't forget to open a new account. The poster replies, I completely agree with you. I started paying for this place 10 years before I married my soon-to-be ex. Now I can enter the room where I found them. I've been sleeping in the spare room, but as you say, it's tainted. I'll sell as soon as the divorce is finalized. The good news is Jane signed a prenuptial agreement thanks to my dad. I love that wise man. Wow, I have a few thoughts. Baldy seems like a truly awful person. Honestly, she gave herself to the first man who showed her superficial attention. He's just one of those individuals who boosts his ego with women who laugh at his jokes and smile at him because he's being inappropriate and they think it's a way to get rid of him. I don't understand why anyone would want to cheat on their partner with this cheap, slimy guy. I mean, Jane obviously has self-esteem issues, but that's a new low. And then for Baldy to claim he's fallen head over heels, please? This man needs to get a grip. He must be just as insecure. Perhaps they deserve each other, two clueless people in a similar situation. At the same time, I think for Harry to suggest you should speak to Baldy because he's desperate is totally out of line. It shouldn't concern anyone but you and your ex. And then for Baldy to plead with you to contact Jane is also completely backward. Moreover, I think you're right to rent this place out. I wouldn't stay there. As you said, it's tainted, and it doesn't fit the narrative of your new life. Let us know your thoughts so far in the comments below. Update 2. Hello again. I didn't anticipate providing an update so soon, but something significant has occurred that I'd like to share. I want to mention something my therapist told me. Remember, I started therapy because Jane suggested I had trust issues. It turns out I don't have any. I'm actually prone to being overly trusting, but the therapist observed I carry many insecurities stemming from my past obesity. For as long as I can recall, I was a chubby, studious guy in school, never a boyfriend, always just a best friend. My first girlfriend was at 18, and she left me a week later for a more attractive guy. I attended an engineering high school, so there were very few women. My next relationship was in my 20s with a highly toxic girl who blamed me for everything, even the weather. She truly damaged my self-worth, making me feel responsible for anything that entered her mind. Later, I started working because my family faced financial difficulties, and I didn't have another relationship until I met Jane at university. In the session before my last with my therapist, we discussed my feelings about not having children. She has helped me organize my priorities. Number 1, myself, encompassing physical health, gym and healthy eating, intelligent studying, learning, mental challenges, and soul beliefs, morals, ethics. Number 2, people who live with me, Jane. Number 3, family and friends. Number 4, work. Number 5, leisure and entertainment. The last session focused on Jane. The therapist asked about my plans. I told her I would divorce Jane. She explained it was normal for me to be in such distress because my second priority was collapsing. I would have to navigate similar stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. I had to look them up because I'd forgotten them. I'm currently in the bargaining stage, frequently pondering what ifs. For instance, what if she truly is remorseful? What if we're the golden couple who can overcome infidelity? But the reality is, I will never trust her again. It would torment me, knowing she's home alone, doing who knows what, while I'm at work. For me, depression is a dangerous phase because it could lead me to regain weight. I need to stick to the gym and carefully monitor my diet. I hope this information assists others who are grieving. Now for the update. I've been extremely busy. I applied for a promotion at work. I could have pursued it long ago, but it requires extensive travel. I feel it will aid my healing to be away. I've also been searching for a new place to live and found a small apartment. Perfect for me. I've already paid 3 months' rent in advance. I'll move as soon as possible. I haven't seen Jane since D-Day, or Baldy since that Monday when I'm certain he was dismissed. On a positive note, one of my neighbors, a woman in her 50s, encountered me in the condo's elevator. She mentioned she hadn't seen Jane lately. I told her we were separating. Then she happened to remember she was hosting a dinner, and her single niece would be visiting for a few days, and I was invited. It caught me by surprise. It seems I'm back on the market. My attorney informed me Jane was supposed to be served last Friday, but due to some national holidays, she was served last Sunday morning at my in-laws' home. The following Monday, someone, Jane, I presume, slid a letter under my door. It was 3 sheets, front and back, from Jane, primarily explaining what led her to be unfaithful. Here we'll introduce the second antagonist in the story. A co-worker we'll call Flirty. I had met her occasionally at Jane's work events, like Christmas or anniversary celebrations. She's very slender, almost skinny, and typically wears a lot of makeup. She also believes every man desires her. One time, she told Jane I was staring at her. I did once because I could see her ribs, and I thought she looked unhealthily thin. Anyway, according to Jane's letter, when she lost weight, Flirty approached her, wanting them to be best friends since they were the 2 hotties at work. That's when the manipulation began. Flirty made her believe she deserved a superior man, that she was entitled to it. She told Jane I was a pathetic individual who would try to control her now that she was attractive. When the incident with the Smith machine occurred, Flirty told Jane, See, didn't I tell you he wants to own you more than be your husband? Jane believed it, and due to Flirty's influence, she resented me for months. When we attended the gym at different times, Jane accidentally met Baldy at the mall, and he approached her. She confessed she had a crush on a guy similar to Baldy before I met her. She had never told me that before. They went for a bite, and both flirted. Jane showed Flirty Baldy's picture from Facebook, and Flirty told her she'd be a dumb witch if she didn't sleep with him, adding that her pathetic husband, May, didn't compare to that Greek god. She had the opportunity, she was eager, so she did. Baldy took her to his house, which coincidentally was near the mall, where they ran into each other. So, she didn't know that was Frank's dad's place. All this happened 9 months ago. Flirty was a seasoned cheater. She instructed Jane on how to conceal her tracks, the work-related code words to hide Baldy's contact, and to obscure her map tracking history. She even told her that changing her phone password was foolish because I'd immediately suspect something. Jane noticed Baldy disliked it when she mentioned me, and as a form of punishment, he would leave hickeys on her body. Now I remembered she started wearing pajamas to sleep because it was cold. Baldy used to insult me, but she never went along with it. Meanwhile, Flirty consistently told her she was entitled to this romance, and I deserved to be cheated on because I was a beta. During those months, Jane says she enjoyed the feeling of danger. The thrill and the sex with Baldy was good, but it also pained her to see me struggling, trying to be a better husband, and knowing she was the source of my anguish. It was easier to disregard me and continue with the pleasure Baldy offered her. D-Day arrived. I completely caught her off guard. She thought I was oblivious. I'm going to transcribe this part exactly as she wrote it. I was in shock, and I covered myself with a blanket by pure instinct. When I reacted, I saw you pushing and kicking Baldy out of the room in the house. When I heard you closing the door and coming back, I didn't know what to say. I have never seen you this angry before. Then you said, I have never hurt you, nor will I. That's true. In the years we've known each other, you have never hurt me. Not even when we found out that it's my fault that we can't have children. After that, she heard me crying in the spare room. She wanted to comfort me, but how could she? In the main doorway, we had a mirror to check ourselves before going out. She looked at herself but couldn't bear her own reflection. When she entered her car, she cried and asked herself, what have I done? Baldy called her that night, but she blocked him. She arrived at her sister-in-law's house around midnight, 2 hours after the drama. Her house was about 40 minutes from mine. She was afraid to tell her sister-in-law what happened because her sister was older and had a very strong personality. The next day, she told Flirty what had occurred. Flirty told her she should be happy she got rid of me. I'm going to copy this part too. And then what, babe? You're free. You can have sex with Baldy or any guy you want. And then? I don't follow you. What will happen when I'm tired of having sex with a bunch of guys? Then you can decide which one to date seriously. And then what? I don't know. Get married, I suppose. But I already had a marriage. But it was with OP. He's a loser. I bet Baldy is 100 times better than him. No, that's not true. He gave me a good life. Don't settle for so little. You can have a better man. Then they proceeded to have a big argument in front of coworkers. She couldn't recall it well, but she remembered swearing and yelling at Flirty. Flirty told her that any guy hotter than me is better than me. I don't understand what Flirty had against me, but Jane realized what she had destroyed. She was inconsolable, and her boss allowed her to go home early. The next day was when I showed my sister-in-law the video. Jane was babysitting her sister-in-law's twins. After I drove her home, her sister-in-law asked Jane to help her run some errands, just the two of them. That was a lie. They parked at a park, and her sister-in-law demanded to know what was going through Jane's mind to cheat on me. Jane cried and said, I don't know. Her sister-in-law confessed she had envied our marriage. 11 years and not a major argument, both of us looking happy. She couldn't believe her little sister was capable of such a thing. Jane had been there for her sister-in-law when her ex-husband left her for another woman. Jane asked her not to kick her out, but her sister-in-law told her she could stay. After all, the house belonged to both of them. But she made it clear she was very disappointed and would side with me if I ever needed help. Jane understood. The next Sunday, Jane came to apologize, but I wasn't home. When she received my attorney's card, she called, and my attorney confirmed I had hired him. She knew I was truly going to divorce her. So she went to her new home and wrote a confession, sending it to everyone we both knew. I started receiving messages and phone calls the following week, but I didn't want to read her response. Now I've read some of the direct messages, and it's what she said. Most of them want to comfort me. One of her cousins said it takes courage to confess, so I should give her a chance. The following week, she tried to distract herself with work, but it seemed everyone now knew she had cheated. In my country, if you are unfaithful, people view you as an easy woman, so female co-workers don't speak to her, particularly Flirty, and male co-workers are annoyingly friendly toward her. She had to be relocated, but it would take months, so she quit her job the following Friday. She had a good amount of savings. We kept our finances separate, and since I was the primary earner, I paid for almost everything. The next day, she was looking for me, in her words, to beg to take her back. She came here, but when she saw I wasn't home, she went to my parents. My dad refused to speak to her, but my mom was sympathetic and told her she was sorry about all this. But her son May was truly hurt and asked them not to talk about her anymore. Jane understood, but then went to my brothers. He told her OP is not here and frankly, I don't want to talk to you, and closed the door on her face. She returned to her new house very sad. All last week, she had been reflecting on her actions, and she'd been truly depressed, realizing how much damage she had done to our relationship, to her family, and to mine, all for the meaningless pleasure derived from a douchebag who, in her words, believes vaccines are just a pharmacy scam and believes in astrology. Yes, Baldy was heavily tattooed. He had a Taurus sign on his arm. Her sister-in-law suggested she go to therapy. I don't blame her. If my brother were in the same situation, I'd be very disappointed, but I'd try to make him realize what was wrong with him. She finally went to therapy, and her therapist suggested writing me this letter and being completely honest with me. So she says all written in the letter is true. She swears on her life that if I take her back, there will be no spouse in the history of humanity more grateful, loyal, and honest than her. She suggests total access to her social media, which I already had, that she will always answer my calls no matter the situation, and to never have friends I don't approve of. There are more things about family and friends that I don't think are important to share. Besides, it needs a lot of context. Finally, she pleads to meet me and allow her to apologize properly to my face. In her words, sorry doesn't begin to describe what I'm feeling right now. What do I think of this letter? The things I can confirm are that she hadn't contacted Baldy until that Monday when he was fired, and she did confess to family and friends. The rest could be partially true, but I'm sure it's been embellished. For example, she doesn't mention when she called me jealous and immature. She doesn't mention letting Baldy fully consummate their act. She can give me all her passwords, but she lied to my face and gaslighted me for 9 months, according to her, and she was very good at it. Besides, I don't want to be her jailer. As I said, I will never trust her again. When I see her face, I'll also see Baldy's image in front of her. I will not be her second choice, nor will I be a doormat. I haven't replied yet, but I think I'll see her next weekend. Marianne0601 from the community suggests, my mom had a coworker that constantly told her to cheat on my dad. We're talking over 10 years telling her that garbage. Dad drank. My mom hit a breaking point, and lots of men always made passes at her. What did she do? When she finally got fed up, she came home and yelled at my father that it takes 2 people to make a marriage, and they were going to go to counseling. She already made the appointment. The coworker came up in counseling because she had told my dad to his face, my mom should cheat on him. Mom's answer, the coworker is so unhappy with who she is that she sleeps with everyone to feel better. Why would she listen to someone that's broken and can't fix herself? My parents were married over 49 years when my dad died. Mom got asked out after he passed and still wouldn't date. Your wife's excuses are just that, excuses, and not good ones. Move on and know that there is someone else out there for you. NoArt 7321 says, you know what you need to do. She cheated on you for almost a year, and it took her being caught to realize how awful it was. Continue with your divorce. It sucks, but you'll find someone who wants to be with you wholeheartedly, not just until something better comes along. I'm really sorry this happened, but you will be okay in the long run. Good job seeking therapy and trying to find peace in all this. You are stronger than you know. Onwards and upwards, my friend. Good, don't ever be a doormat. She made her decision long ago, and honestly, I don't think Flirty is solely responsible. Jane was obviously having these thoughts herself. There's no way someone confident in themselves and happy in life would make the conscious choice to cheat. Her words are meaningless. She's just upset she ruined her own life with her own choices. She could have had something beautiful. Update 3. Hello, champions. I'm back. Thank you to all who reached out. I've been quiet because I needed time to reflect, and I finally got it. Thank you very much. It's been some very difficult days. For those who want to know, yes, I did meet Jane. No, I didn't respond to her letter. It was due to a foolish mistake I made. I'll explain. A few days after my last post, I experienced an anxiety attack due to the stress I had bottled up. According to my therapist, my life had undergone a complete reversal, and my mind hadn't had time to adjust. It was my first time having such an episode. I thought I was having a stroke. Rapid heartbeat, sweating, and panic clouded my judgment. My coworkers called emergency services, and an ambulance came for me. If I hadn't been so terrified, I would have enjoyed the ride. I was absolutely convinced I would die at any moment. The paramedic kept repeating, "Sir, you're having a panic attack. Everything is going to be fine." I tried to focus on his words, but I couldn't. My only thoughts were, I'm going to die. At the hospital, they sedated me, and I started to feel better and drowsy. I could answer questions. The doctor asked for my name, my age, what day it was. I could answer correctly until I lost consciousness. When I woke up, guess who was beside me? Jane. I had forgotten to remove her name and number from my emergency contacts. I was very confused due to the medication. I smiled at her and said, "Jane?" She was sitting, reading a book, and when she heard me, she jumped from her seat and approached. She had tears in her eyes and told me, "Hello, my love. You really scared us." That's when everything flooded back. I stopped smiling and asked, "What are you doing here?" I tried to sit up, but my body felt numb and clumsy. She shushed me and told me, "Take it easy. No sudden movements. I'll get the doctor." She kissed my forehead and left. I wanted to avoid the kiss, but my reflexes were also numb. The kiss felt so familiar, but I knew it had been over a year since she had kissed me with genuine affection. While she was gone, I looked around. I was in a large room with 6 other beds, 4 of them occupied by patients. They were all separated by curtains for privacy. I also noticed I wasn't wearing my clothes but a hospital gown. A few minutes later, she returned with a doctor. I had slept for 26 hours. The doctor explained everything about the anxiety attack I suffered. He asked if I had stopped taking any medications, but Jane and I answered almost simultaneously, he doesn't take any meds. I hated how well she knew me. The doctor told me the episode stemmed from severe stress or a sudden life change, or both. I glanced at Jane, but she averted her eyes. He ordered several days off to reflect and get more therapy. I told him I was already in therapy, but the doctor suggested I see a psychiatrist. My therapist is a grief counselor and psychologist, so she can't prescribe medication. He told me I must be hungry and that I would be discharged the next day. Then he left. It was 8 p.m., so Jane had another hour until visiting hours concluded, and she didn't seem eager to depart. It felt awkward, and that feeling often makes me ramble like an idiot, so I asked, "You said you scared us. Who were us?" She smiled. I bet she knew I couldn't resist a conversation. "Your parents and me, they were here this morning. Did they leave?" "Yes, they're expecting my call." "I'll talk to them tomorrow. You can leave. I want to sleep." "But your dinner is almost here." When the doctor mentioned I must be hungry, my stomach rumbled. I hadn't eaten a thing for 26 hours. A few minutes later, a seasoned nurse arrived with a tray on a cart. She asked Jane to adjust the bed so I would be in a sitting position to eat. I don't know what kind of expression I made, because Jane was amused and staring at me while the nurse arranged the tray in front of me on my bed. "I'm an ex-glutton," she said. "God, I love you so much." I ignored her again and asked her one more time to go home, but the nurse grew very angry with me. According to her, Jane had given me a sponge bath and even shaved me. I hadn't noticed until she told me. Finally, she asked Jane to feed me because I was still recovering from the medication. I told her we were getting divorced, but she said that wasn't her concern and I should be thanking her. She had been there to help, and I was a very ungrateful person. Then she left. I refused her assistance and tried to eat, even though my movements were very clumsy. I was making a mess with the soup, and Jane begged me to let her help. I felt like a spoiled child throwing a tantrum. I simply said, "Fine," and allowed her to feed me. I had never felt so vulnerable before. She behaved very maternally and affectionately. I could observe her closely. She wasn't wearing makeup. I saw more lines of expression, and she now had crow's feet. I felt better after I finished eating. She took the tray out of the room. She was in a good mood. I noticed a patient across from me, a man in his 50s, watching Jane when she left and returned. I wasn't surprised. She was wearing a coat and jeans, but she was very attractive. I disliked the feeling of being indebted to her. When she sat down, I said, "Thanks for being here." She looked me in the eyes and smiled. "Anytime." She tried to comb my hair from my forehead with her hand, but this time I could resist her. She looked hurt, and I didn't say anything. She tried to grab my hand, but I pulled it away, and she said, "Can we talk, please?" I remained silent. There were only two reasons for me to be even cordial to her. The twins. They hadn't been baptized when they were toddlers, but after her sister-in-law's ex left, Jane and I supported her sister-in-law and the twins. I loved those two little rascals with all my heart. When we babysat for them, I told Jane it would count as parenting practice for when we had our own, which would never happen. Her sister-in-law asked us to be their godparents, and I teared up with emotion. They were the closest thing I had to a daughter and a son. I knew Jane loved them too, and I didn't want any drama near my godson and goddaughter, and I missed them so much. I hadn't seen them since about a week before D-Day. Also, I hadn't spoken to them because I was avoiding Jane. So I told her, "Okay, let's talk in the condo. I'll contact you soon." She offered to take me home the next day when I was discharged. I told her no, I would ask my parents to come for me, and I would see her again in the condo. I wanted to speak to my parents. She noticed I was searching for my clothes. She opened a cabinet next to my bed and handed me my phone. I looked at her suspiciously, and she gave me her guilty face again, meaning I was sure she had snooped through my phone, and she admitted it. We didn't utter a word. That was the language we had developed over 11 years of marriage. I didn't care if she snooped. I had nothing to conceal. I texted my parents, and they called almost immediately. While I was speaking to them, the same elderly nurse told Jane visiting hours were over. She wanted to say goodbye, but I ignored her. She whispered in my ear, "I know you keep your word. I'll wait for you to contact me. I love you." She kissed my hair and departed. I do keep my word. My father always told me a man's worth is as much as his word. I asked my parents if they knew what happened after I passed out. According to them, one of my coworkers appeared at the hospital to provide information about my medical insurance. That's when the staff saw the emergency contact and called Jane. My sister-in-law contacted them after the hospital called. When Jane arrived, she met my coworker, and he left. Jane was waiting for the doctor assigned to me when my parents arrived. My dad was very courteous to her and asked what she knew. After a while of waiting, a nurse called out, "Relatives of patient OP." They stood up, and the nurse guided them to the doctor. They had already tested my blood and told them I was physically healthy. My anxiety attack stemmed from a psychological aspect. The doctor asked for Jane to see me because she was the emergency contact. She promised my parents to call them after seeing me. When she came back, she was surprised my parents were still there waiting. She gave them a ride to their home, while she told them she had helped the nurses undress me and put on the hospital gown. They didn't discuss our divorce. My parents thanked her for the ride and agreed to visit in the morning, and she would take over in the afternoon around 1 p.m. Also, I called my sister-in-law to thank her for calling my parents. Luckily, my godchildren were still awake, and I could speak to them. They were drawing get-well-soon cards for me. I promised to visit next weekend. The next day, a Thursday, I was discharged from the hospital. My parents took me to my new home. A week before my panic attack, I had started moving into my new place. I took my personal belongings. Everything else would remain in the condo I planned to rent. It was fully furnished. Fortunately, there were 3 universities nearby. I knew there were students who would jump at the chance for a place like mine. I had already purchased basic furniture, a refrigerator, a stove. I had to learn to cook my meals from now on. A bed, a table with chairs, and a desk, along with cleaning supplies. I felt thrilled for the first time. I could call this small apartment my own space. I bought a nice warm jacket for Mr. P. I gave it to him, thanked him for his help, and told him I would visit from time to time. I didn't attend my neighbor's dinner. I don't feel ready to date yet. I think I need more therapy and further healing. At my new home, I reflected on my goals regarding meeting Jane. I concluded I needed closure. To understand her actions, to make her understand there was no possibility of reconciliation, and to end things amicably. I would divorce her and move on, but I didn't want to lose my in-laws, my sweet and sometimes confused mother-in-law, my stubborn and strong sister-in-law, and her twins whom I loved. I didn't want to miss their birthdays and future accomplishments. I wanted to maintain at least a cordial relationship with Jane. At work, my boss gave me 5 days off starting next week. I didn't want to stay home, so I went to the beach. It truly helped me to escape everything and rest. I realized I still loved my wife, but the heavier one, the one who got excited when Pizza Fridays arrived, the one I married 11 years ago, the one who supported my dreams and hopes, the one who hugged me when life became difficult. I don't know what happened to her. Did vanity destroy her? Was it lust? No idea. But I loved my wife deeply, and the one who betrayed me was not that woman. Life Yogurt Closet 98 from the community says, "The one who could betray you was your wife. She became different after the betrayal. It wasn't the sex, it was everything that led up to it the first time." I like how you are handling everything, OP, and I hope you confirm Baldy being fired, and hope you realize dating doesn't have to lead to marriage. You can date and end up platonic, but dating is just a way to practice getting to know whether a person can connect with you, and you have been out of the game for a while. Good luck, OP. Skiller Wolf 1234 says, "Hope you're doing better now, but it sounds like it. Your wife died when she started drooling and licking her lips over Baldy. She still thinks that you can be together, but you are not falling for her tricks. Wish you a good life and hope you update us yet again. I've been waiting for so long for this update. I'm so sorry, OP, this actually breaks my heart. It's truly unfortunate how someone can change so much. I mean, it's one thing to be incredibly happy with yourself and have that overflow into other aspects of your life, like your marriage, and have that blossom because of your own self-love and happiness. And there's another where you totally let it all go to your head and you ruin the only beautiful thing in your life by cheating on someone who loves you more than life itself. Please know that you did nothing wrong, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. Don't ever compare yourself to others, and don't let her behavior be any measure of your value. Your ex doesn't deserve you. You're far too good a person. Try to focus on what this means for you. There's a space here now that's going to allow you to focus on yourself and your true worth. Your ex's betrayal should stand in stark contrast to all that you are and all that you represent. You are the one who maintained constant integrity. That's beautiful. You are the one who took the high road and chose to be a good husband. That's beautiful. You live a life where you do not harm others. That's beautiful. Do not allow yourself to think for one moment that you are less than beautiful. Do not allow negative thoughts to trick you into believing that you're less than. What are your thoughts? What does OP need to hear? And thank you for joining us today on our channel. Like and subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. We'd hate for you to miss out. Also, please let us know what you thought of today's content in the comments below. See you next time.